Hello, hello, hello. You might notice this. Here we go. Let me make one transition. There I am. How you guys doing? Um, so, hey again, guys. I just finished recording my NFL 101 episode 11. I had to, it's I I don't know if I'll release this today or release it later. But anyway, it's good to see you guys. As you can tell from behind me, no, other way. There we go. It's hard to do this in reverse, y'all. Here, there we go. As you can see from behind me, me and Nathan have put our tree up. Um, so it is that time of year. It is Christmas time, and I'm gonna be careful while using this in here because of obviously of all the computer equipment in there. But that tree behind me is a big temptation for the cats. We You can't see it, but we do have some foil lining down on the floor here to help prevent them. So you might hear that rustle if they try to get in here. Anyway, so welcome to another episode of Nerd Herd. Today, I'm going to talk about the Home Alone. Really, I'm not going to talk about the entire franchise, although I'll briefly mention all the movies. Well, most of the movies. I haven't seen Home Sweet Home Alone, and from what I've heard, it's not. I've heard mixed reviews on it, so I don't know if. Uh, in my opinion, I'm not that interested in watching it, so I don't know if I ever will. So, Home Sweet Home Alone, that movie might not be. I might not mention that, and if I ever watch it, I don't know what I'm gonna do about it. Anyway, so as I said before, the main focus of this video will be the first two Home Alone movies, and why I think the first one is almost is pretty impossible, and the second one is definitely impossible. So I'll, let's get the obvious out of the way, y'all. Give me a minute. If you notice my earbud in here, I'm listening to stuff while I'm just keep helping to keep me on topic. So you'll see me adjusting that throughout the video. Anyway, so um, let's get into the. Uh, okay, where was I? I talked about my earbud and then I got lost track of what I was going to do. Oh right. Okay, so let's get the obvious out of the way. There is such a thing as the willful suspension of disbelief. The As you go into a movie, whether it's in the theater or at home, you are willfully saying, "Okay, I know the events in this movie are not real, and that if they were real, things would happen differently." So, um, in in the first Home Alone movie, obviously Kevin McAllister, the main character, gets left home alone, and you know his family goes. Oh, I don't remember where they go. They go off to a destination for Christmas to have Christmas away from the usual spot. So they forget Kevin, leave him at home alone while they go to the airport and to their Christmas vacation, basically. Um, the problem with that is, as soon as his mother calls, let's just make one thing clear. His mother calls the police station in their hometown in New York, not New York, in their hometown. You know, in their hometown. You know, in their hometown, and says, "Hey, I left my kid at home alone. Could you go check on him?" And the cops, being massively incompetent, go knock on the door. Kid doesn't answer. Okay, kid isn't there. And realistically, the cop knocks on the door, says, hey Kevin, it's Officer, whatever name they gave the officer, or just insert a name here. Let's say just Officer Paul. Hey Nathan, this office. Hey, Kevin, it's Officer Paul. I'm here to check on you. Now, that's how the cops should have dealt with it. And then Kevin would come out and said, "Hey, my family disappeared," and the cop would have been like, "No, your family didn't disappear. They just left you here. They're on their vacation." And regardless of if the rest of the events of the movie happen as they do in the movie, CPS probably would have been at the very least, contacted. You know, um, for them to say, "Hey, this kid was left at home alone by his family. We don't know whether it was intentional or not." And CPS investigated. Yeah, kid was left home alone, but at least he was at home. Maybe. I'm willing to be a little bit more lenient on the first movie, just because, okay, there are things that happen. You might leave your kid home alone, but most parents would notice that almost instantly, and turn around, go home, get the kid. But as far as the first movie is concerned, I'm gonna be a little bit more lenient and say CPS doesn't immediately take Kevin away, even though they probably should. Um, and let's just say Kevin is left at home, whether with like a police supervision, or the cops say, "Hey, I'll come over and check on you every, you know, we'll send I will or someone will send we'll send someone over, every hour, or, once a day until your family comes back home." If the police are sitting outside of Kevin's house, that means the robbers in the movie, the sticky bandits, as I think Marv wants them to call, would not rob Kevin's house, because there would be a car outside, or an adult would actually be in the house. But let's say they do. After Kevin's hijinks of rigging all these traps up for these kids, for these thieves, one of two things will happen. He will either be put in a mental hospital, or somebody say, "Hey, we're taking you to engineering school. You're a freaking genius, kid." Now, let's get into the second movie. The second movie is where things become impossible. And just so you all know, the fourth and fifth movies I'm not counting as canon to the overall Home Alone lore. Or it's just my personal headcanon, I should say. Is I only count the first three movies. I'll explain why I like the third movie here in a minute, or here in a bit, once I get there. But the second movie is straight up impossible, because regardless of if CPS leaves Kevin with his parents or not, CPS would have said, "Hey, you are being watched. You ever leave your kid home alone or anywhere alone again, he will be taken from you. Your other kids will be taken from you, and things will happen. You will probably be punished." So that makes the second movie almost near impossible, because that basically cancels their. I think they go down to Florida or another tropical destination for their second, destination, Christmas vacation. And they're like, so Kevin's parents would probably cancel any future trips. Just say, "Hey, we're not going to risk it. We're just going to stay home this year. If you all want to come over for Christmas dinner, we'll do that. We'll do it that way." So there you go. Ixnay on Kevin getting lost in New York right there. Again, I'm fully aware that in order for the movie to happen, the law enforcement agencies portrayed in the movie have to be incompetent on some level. I know that. and the McAllister parents have to be have to have a certain level of we're not thinking straight. But at least in the second movie, Kevin makes it to the airport. But on their connecting flight, he gets lost in New York. Meets meets a bunch of people like Tim Curry and some other people. Uh, well, it's not Tim Curry in the universe because he's playing a hotel employee. Anyway, so after the events of this movie, regardless of what happens in the movie, after what happens in this movie, Home Alone Lost in New York, in particular, Kevin is, if this was happened in real life, Kevin would without a doubt be taken away. Kevin, at the very least, would be taken away from his parents, and most likely, Kevin's siblings would also be taken away from the McAllister parents, because they have proven on two separate occasions, within the space of 2 years. Keep that in mind. Within the space of 2 years, they keep they evidence. They provide evidence to CPS saying, hey, you cannot keep track of all your children. We are taking them away. We do not promise to keep them together. We do not promise to, do anything with them. Now, before I transition to the third movie, you know, before I transition to the third movie, um, I want to address Kevin's character and the character of the rest of the McAllister family in the first two movies. Is Kevin a jerk? Without a doubt. But again, in the first movie, I think he's 8, and in the second movie, I think he's stated to be 9 or 10. But within this, the movie states that is the next year, so he will be 9 years old. So I'm giving Kevin a lot of leeway, saying, well, yeah, he's 8 years old. He's 8 and 9 years old. He does, while he shows in the films that he's extremely clever and extremely, engineering wise, he's a genius when creating all these traps for the thieves in the movies. So it's just giving Kevin a little bit more way. I'm giving Kevin a little bit more leeway because he's a kid, and most of the time kids don't really know how to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to regulate certain other reactions. So give Kevin a little bit of leeway for being a jerk. He's not grown up yet. He's immature. Okay, that's what he is. Kevin's immature. Give him a break. He's a kid. Now, as for the rest of the family, especially the grown-ups, his uncle and his parents, again, not Anakin. Oh, wow. And the cat's not even in here. Okay. But again, Kevin, give Kevin a break. His older brother is being a jerk to him. So, while it's within sibling bounds, the bounds of sibling rivalry, for Kevin's brother to mess with him, he takes it too far sometimes. But Kevin's uncle is also a massive jerk. I don't know why. I get, not liking a kid, but I don't know, I don't know why. Oh, I shouldn't say I get not liking a kid. I understand the feeling of being annoyed by children. There are sometimes, I'm human, guys. I'll admit that I'm human. Um, anyway, so I get annoyed at kids sometimes, especially at work where I where kids do things that, yeah, again, I try to give them the leeway of like, okay, they're a kid, they don't understand. But anyway, so give Kevin a break for being a immature, but also like don't give his uncle a break, but for like his, his uncle does things that an adult shouldn't. Let me put it that way. I do things I shouldn't. Uh, and Kevin's uncle does things he probably shouldn't, like calling Kevin a jerk. He's a kid, dude. Get over it. And then Kevin's parents. There's one scene in the first movie where Kevin's mom, well, okay, Kevin wishes. Kevin wishes that his family was gone because, okay, he was acting like a jerk. He did a bunch of things, and then his mom says, "Okay, you're gonna go sleep in the attic, or you're gonna go, you're being put in timeout essentially." And then Kevin was just like, "Oh, I wish all you guys were gone." And his mom was just like, "Well, maybe since it's Christmas, your wish will come true." Like, come on, lady. He's a kid. I understand he caused a bunch of trouble, but he's a kid. Don't be like, don't respond. Don't respond to the kid in the if the kid's being a jerk. Don't respond to in the jerk way. Um, that's what I'm trying to say. So eventually, it's and as I think I made it evident through the movie, or throughout the video, them leaving him home alone, whether by accident or intentionally. There is a theory that says that the dad left Kevin home alone intentionally. For I've seen different reasons on every theory. Um, but anyway, it's just weird. So ignore that theory. So again, all that being said is, if I were the neighbor of the McAllisters and I noticed this kid being mistreated, I would have probably called CPS long before they left him home. And that again, that's just me personally. I would have called CPS long before they left Kevin home alone, because I would have seen, okay, you're not treating this kid all right. And again, I'm not saying that as I would get involved in other people's business, but if people got involved, if I saw, if I witnessed events where a kid was being mistreated, I would take necessary action for the kid to be put in a safe environment. Is what I'm trying to say. Man, I'm not talking well this episode. Okay, so now let's get to the third movie, and we are, you know, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video than I intended. So the third movie, and this is where my head canon gets in here a bit. As I stated before, that the fourth movie and beyond, I really don't consider as canon to these three movies. I consider these three movies like they're their own little bubble, because they kind of they recasted Kevin. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Macaulay Culkin was, by the time you filmed these movies, was grown up, and it did make sense to keep using him. So use a different kid in the third movie, but you can't just go back to Kevin and it being a different kid. And you're just like, well, what the heck? Kevin should be an adult by now, anyway, or significantly older. And they're like, just like, oh no, Kevin's around the same age as he was. No. Anyway, so here's my personal headcanon and why I don't consider the fourth and fifth movies as canon to the original three. I think that in the universe of at least the first three movies, CPS was eventually called in the McAllister family parents, and Kevin and his siblings were eventually taken away from them and the chief reasons among them, Kevin lets out hey, they left me alone, home alone 1 year, and the next year they left me in New York alone. And that 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 is my personal headcanon and why they went to a different kid in the third movie. And that I think that makes sense. Of hey, the McAllister parents eventually lost Kevin and his siblings because one, they lost one of their children twice, and two, the CPS saw some other mistreatment of the children uh, throughout like maybe a week or so long. Say, hey, we're just gonna do a week long, observation of you and your family, see how you guys operate normally. So that's why they went with. I think Alex is the main character of the third movie. Now, as for the third movie, I'm a little more willing to forgive the parents in that movie, Alex's parents, because one, Alex isn't accidentally left at home alone while you guys are going on vacation, or you guys aren't intent. There is no room for people to theorize that Alex's parents were intentionally leaving him home alone. Number two, his mother calls a neighbor and says, "Hey, can you check on my sick kid?" While during the day, you know, it was it was amazing. It's amazing where they were like, okay, let's go from these parents unintentionally left their kid home alone to, or left their kid in New York, to hey, these parents, this kid is sick, and his father has to go on a business trip, and he does, and his mother has to go into work because of her work obligations. But the difference between the McAllister parents, Kevin's parents, and Alex's parents are Alex's parents took steps to make sure Alex was safe. Now again, the until the trap hijinks ensue, the third movie makes a whole lot more sense. Of okay, I'm a kid at home alone. I saw, I thought I saw burglars in another house. I call the cops. That makes sense. It's not as much, you know, there's not as much incompetence from the police officers. I mean, Alex caught the police officers, or Alex saw thieves, potential thieves in the house, and called the police like he should have. And the police went in there, found nothing, and reasonably assumed that this kid was just pranking them. So, and again, there's a bit of the fantastical elements that come in later, and these world class thieves are like, oh, we need to find this chip. Anyway, you know, I think that's all I'm gonna do. I've been talking for a while. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat something. I will see you guys later. Bye. Where's my mouse? Hold on. I lost my mouse. You guys are getting a little bit extra. There it is. Oh, mouse turned off. All right. See you guys.